My friend, struggling was never God's original design for your life. You were not created to live under pressure, chasing survival day after day. You were created for overflow, for more than enough, for abundance, for increase, for peace that overflows, for wisdom that flows without limits. But here's the truth: before overflow shows up in your life, it must first show up in your mind. You will never hold in your hands what you cannot first hold in your thinking. The battlefield is not around you, it is within you. And until you train your mind to receive overflow, you will keep living below what you were designed for. Renew your mind from survival to overflow. Most people wake up every day with one thing on their mind: how to make it through, how to pay the bills, how to get food on the table, how to survive another week. That mentality has been passed down from generations. Parents teaching children, society teaching citizens, schools teaching students that life is about just getting by. But here's the problem with that way of thinking. If your mind is programmed for survival, it will never reach for overflow. You will only attract what your mind believes you deserve. If your thoughts are small, your life will be small. If your thoughts are trapped in scarcity, your reality will keep producing scarcity. Think about it. A man who grew up in a house where every conversation was about shortage. We don't have enough. We can't afford that. Life is hard. Will naturally carry that mindset into his adult years. He may have a good job. He may even get promoted. But deep inside, he still thinks in terms of just enough. And no matter how much he earns, it seems to slip away because his mind has not been renewed from survival to overflow. It is not his circumstances holding him back. It is his thinking. Overflow is not first a bank account. It is first a mindset. A person who expects increase will begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. When you train your mind to believe that you were created for abundance, your decisions, your actions, and even the way you carry yourself begin to change. A student who thinks in survival mode will choose the cheapest option, the safest path, the smallest risk. But a student who thinks in overflow will say, how can I multiply this? How can I expand this? How can I use this one seed to create a harvest? Consider the difference between two farmers. One farmer has 5 seeds, and because his mind is trapped in survival, he thinks, I better eat these seeds now, because I may not have food later. So he consumes them. The other farmer with the same 5 seeds thinks differently. His mind is renewed. He says, if I plant these seeds, I will have not just 5, but 50. If I water them, in time I will have hundreds. If I share some, others will bring me more. Both farmers had the same starting point, but their mental programming determined their outcomes. One stayed in survival, the other stepped into overflow. Look at daily life. How many people do you know who only think in terms of paying bills? The moment money comes in, their first thought is, how do I pay everything I owe? That is survival thinking. But when you renew your mind, your first thought becomes, how can I multiply this? How can I invest this? How can I turn this into overflow? The money didn't change, the mind did. And when the mind changes, the future changes. Survival is fear-driven. It says, don't take risks, don't dream too big, stay safe. Overflow is faith-driven. It says, there is more than enough. If I sow, I will reap. If I expand, I will increase. When your mind is renewed, you begin to expect doors to open instead of bracing for them to shut. You begin to anticipate opportunities instead of assuming setbacks. Even in tough times, your mind whispers, there is still a way forward. There is still increase waiting for me. This is why people can live in the same neighborhood, with the same resources, and yet one lives in constant lack, while the other rises to abundance. It is not always talent. It is not always education. It is not always connections. The difference is the mind. The one who renews his mind to overflow begins to see possibilities everywhere. He starts small businesses, he creates networks, he invests in himself. The other, trapped in survival, says, I can't afford to try. What if I fail? Life is hard. And so the cycle continues. Think of the mother raising her children. A survival-minded mother will tell her kids, don't expect too much from life. Just get a job and hold on. But a mother whose mind has been renewed will say, dream bigger than me. Go further than I went. Expect to own, not just rent. Expect to build, not just borrow. That one shift changes not only her children's mentality, but their destiny. Training your mind from survival to overflow doesn't happen overnight. It takes daily discipline. It takes catching yourself when you speak words of lack and replacing them with words of abundance. It takes seeing yourself not as a struggler, but as someone positioned for more. It takes rehearsing in your mind the vision of plenty until it becomes natural. When you wake up, instead of saying, how will I get through this day? You train yourself to say, how will I grow through this day? That one word changes everything. You can't step into overflow with a survival vocabulary. Words like barely, maybe, I can't, not enough, they have to be erased. Instead, your mouth must align with your renewed mind. Say words like multiply, expand, increase, more than enough. Speak them until they sink deep into your subconscious, because your mind will always create the reality your words describe. Think of your mind like a thermostat in a house. If you set the thermostat at 65 degrees, no matter what happens, the system will adjust to keep the house at 65. That's what survival thinking does. Even if you get more, even if an opportunity comes, your mind pulls you back down to the level of just enough. But when you renew your mind and set that thermostat to overflow, everything in your life begins to adjust upward. You attract people, opportunities, ideas, and strategies that match your new mental setting. Your life is not limited by what you don't have. It is limited by what you believe you can have. If you want overflow, you must believe overflow is possible. You must expect it, think it, and train your mind until overflow is the only option you accept. That's the power of renewing your mind from survival to abundance. It is the gateway to the life you were meant to live. Guard the gates of your mind. Your mind is the most valuable territory you own, and every single day something or someone is trying to invade it. The movies you watch, the music you listen to, the conversations you entertain, the news you consume, even the people you allow closest to you. These are all fighting for space inside your head. And here is the truth. Whatever gets access to your mind long enough will eventually shape your beliefs, your habits, and your future. That's why it is not optional. You must guard the gates of your mind. Think of your mind like a beautiful garden. If you plant seeds of positivity, vision, and faith, that garden will flourish. But if you allow weeds of negativity, fear, and doubt to take root, they will choke out everything good. Too many people spend their lives wondering why their dreams never grow, why their peace always gets stolen, why they feel stuck year after year. The answer is simple. They left their mental gates wide open, and weeds walked in. Look at your daily life. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is grab your phone. If the first voices you hear are filled with gossip, fear, or complaints, those seeds go straight into your mind. They might seem small, but they take root. Later in the day, when you're facing a challenge, instead of confidence, what rises inside you is worry. That's not random. It's the result of what you allowed into your gates. Have you ever noticed that after watching the news for hours, You suddenly feel anxious, heavy, and hopeless, even though nothing in your own life has changed. That's the power of unguarded gates. The negativity didn't just pass by, it entered, settled, and multiplied. Now compare that to someone who wakes up and chooses to feed their mind with words of life, with affirmations of abundance, with messages that fuel their spirit. That person walks into the same day, faces the same challenges, but their attitude is different. Their mind is fortified, and instead of fear, they respond with strength. Your ears are gates. The conversations you allow will either build you up or tear you down. If all your friends do is complain about how life is unfair, how money is scarce, how nothing ever works out, guess what? That mindset will eventually become yours. People transfer their beliefs through their words, and if you don't guard your ears, you'll inherit their limitations. But when you surround yourself with people who talk vision, who talk solutions, who talk growth, their language will push you higher. That's why some people seem to always be advancing. They've chosen carefully who gets access to their gates. Your eyes are also gates. What you watch repeatedly becomes a script that plays in your subconscious. If you constantly watch images of failure, betrayal, and hopelessness, your brain begins to expect the same in your own life. That's why someone can sabotage a good relationship. They've fed themselves so much drama that peace feels unnatural. On the other hand, if you train your eyes to focus on possibility, on examples of people succeeding, on stories of resilience, your mind starts expecting good. When opportunity comes, you recognize it because you've been programming your eyes to see it. Every single day, the world is trying to deposit something into your mind, but you are the gatekeeper. You cannot control what knocks at the door, but you can control what you allow inside. If a thief came to your physical house, you wouldn't open the door and invite him to sit on your couch. So why do so many people allow toxic thoughts and destructive voices to sit comfortably in their minds? It's time to treat your mental space with the same level of protection you give to your home. Guarding your mind doesn't mean you isolate yourself from the world. It means you filter the world. It means when negativity shows up, you say, "Not today, you're not entering here." It means when fear tries to speak, you drown it out with words of courage. It means when doubt whispers you can't, you respond, "I will." It's about developing the discipline to decide which voices are allowed to influence your future. Think about the most successful athletes, entrepreneurs, or leaders you know of. Their talent is important, but their ability to guard their minds is what keeps them at the top. They don't let every critic, every negative comment, every voice of doubt penetrate their thinking. They filter. They protect their focus like gold. That's why they can keep pushing when others quit. They know the battle is not out there. It's in here. The truth is, your mind is constantly under construction. Every word you hear, every image you see, every conversation you join is either building you up or tearing you down. The question is, who are you giving the tools to? Are you handing your enemies the hammer and nails, letting them build doubt inside you? Or are you giving those tools to voices of life that will construct strength, confidence, and vision within you? Imagine two people walking into the same storm. One collapses under the weight, while the other walks through it with boldness. The difference isn't the storm, it's the gates. One let fear and negativity live inside, so when the storm came, it found reinforcement. The other had been feeding their mind with courage, so when the storm came, courage rose up to meet it. That's why guarding your gates is not optional. It is survival for your destiny. Train your imagination to see. Increase your imagination is not a toy. It is a tool. It is the factory of your future. the canvas where tomorrow is painted long before it arrives. Everything that exists in your life right now was first conceived in the imagination of someone. The phone you use, the chair you sit on, the house you live in, the car you drive. Before it became a physical object, it was a mental picture in someone's mind. That is the power of imagination. And yet, too many people use their imagination only for worry, for fear, for worst-case scenarios. They rehearse failure before it happens, and then they are surprised when failure shows up. What you consistently picture in your mind will eventually show up in your life. If you want overflow, you must train your imagination to see increase. Think about this when a child is playing with blocks. The child doesn't just see little plastic pieces. In their mind, they see castles, bridges, cities. That childlike imagination is pure creativity without limits. Somewhere along the way, adults lose that ability. Life, struggles, disappointments, and criticism shrink their imagination until they only see what is directly in front of them. They stop dreaming of abundance and start settling for survival. But if you want to rise above average, you must reclaim that childlike power to see beyond what is visible. Let's take a simple daily example. A person goes to work every day, but in their mind, all they see is struggle. They imagine themselves stuck in traffic, stuck in bills, stuck in the same cycle. Their imagination is training them to expect more of the same. Now, take another person who goes to the same job, faces the same challenges, but in their mind they imagine themselves learning, growing, rising, and eventually leading. They picture themselves owning a business, mentoring others, creating opportunities. Both individuals go through the same routine, but one trains their imagination to multiply, while the other trains it to maintain. Guess which one will eventually see increase? Your imagination is like a movie screen, and you are the director. If the only film you play is fear, that's the storyline your life will follow. If you constantly picture yourself failing, being rejected, being disappointed, your subconscious begins to accept that as the script. But if you start training your imagination to see yourself walking in overflow, see yourself healthy, see yourself traveling, see yourself helping others, see yourself living free from struggle, then your mind begins to work with you, not against you. Your decisions, your energy, and even your body start aligning with the picture you hold inside. This is why vision boards are powerful. It's not magic, it's mental training. When you see images of what you want consistently, your imagination rehearses the future until it feels real. Athletes do this all the time. Before stepping onto the field or the court, they sit quietly and imagine themselves making the perfect shot, crossing the finish line, winning the game. By the time they physically perform, their mind has already experienced it thousands of times. They win in imagination before they win in reality. Think about your own daily routine. Do you imagine problems or possibilities? Do you picture debt piling up? Or do you see yourself debt-free and building wealth? Do you picture yourself lonely? Or do you imagine yourself surrounded by people who love and support you? Whatever you give your imagination to consistently will begin to pull you toward that reality. If you train it for lack, lack will multiply. If you train it for overflow, overflow will multiply. A man once said that when he was broke and living in a small apartment, he would close his eyes and imagine himself walking through a mansion, touching the furniture, smelling the newness, hearing the echo of his footsteps. He did this so often that it felt more real than his current apartment. Eventually, opportunities came. His life shifted, and years later, he stood inside the exact kind of house he had imagined. He didn't stumble into it. He saw it long before he held it. Your imagination is not a place for fantasy. It is a place for training. Just as an athlete trains muscles, you must train your mind to picture increase daily. It may feel uncomfortable at first because scarcity has been your default setting for so long. But the more you practice, the stronger it gets. Start small. Imagine yourself waking up with energy. Imagine yourself walking confidently into opportunities. Imagine yourself handling resources wisely. Imagine yourself blessing others out of abundance. The more you repeat it, the more your mind gets programmed to believe it, and the more your life will bend toward it. Have you noticed how some people can walk into a broken situation and immediately see solutions, while others only see problems? The difference is imagination. One has trained their mind to see possibilities. The other has trained it to see obstacles. If you train your imagination long enough, even when life throws you challenges, you'll see increase hidden inside them. A setback becomes a setup, a problem becomes a platform, a loss becomes a lesson that leads to gain. Your imagination is a preview of your destiny. If you don't like the trailer playing in your head, it's time to change the film. Don't let fear be the director. Don't let past pain be the scriptwriter. Take control, rewrite it. Project Overflow, abundance, peace, joy, opportunities, success, and wholeness on that screen until it becomes the only picture you recognize. What you see in your imagination consistently, you will eventually hold in your reality. Discipline your thoughts to align with overflow. Your thoughts are not random. They are leaders, commanders, directors that shape where your life will go. Every time you think, you are giving your mind an instruction, and your life is simply following orders. This is why undisciplined thoughts are so dangerous. When you allow your mind to wander unchecked, it will almost always drift toward fear, worry, doubt, and scarcity. The natural pull of the human mind is downward. You don't have to try to think negative. It happens automatically. But if you want to live in overflow, you must train your thoughts like a soldier. You must discipline your mind to obey you, not betray you. Think about a soldier on the battlefield. They don't just wander around hoping things work out. They are trained to follow commands, to move in order, to execute a strategy. In the same way, your mind needs training. If you let your thoughts run wild, you'll keep replaying the pain of yesterday, the fear of tomorrow, and the doubts of today. And soon, your entire life will reflect those undisciplined thoughts. But when you rise up and tell your mind what to think, when you train it to focus on abundance, when you discipline it to align with overflow, then suddenly your mind becomes your servant instead of your enemy. Let's make it practical. Imagine you wake up in the morning, and the first thought that comes is, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything today. Life is heavy. If you let that thought go unchecked, it sets the tone for the whole day. You drag yourself through work. You see problems bigger than they are. You feel unmotivated to chase opportunities. But if in that same moment you discipline your thoughts, you can change the entire outcome of the day. You wake up, and even though you feel tired, you tell your mind, this is the day for progress. I am alive, I am equipped, and today I will move forward. That disciplined thought becomes fuel, and suddenly your energy follows your focus. Daily life gives countless examples of this. Someone offends you at work. Instantly, your mind wants to replay the insult, analyze the disrespect, and build a case for why you're justified to stay angry. If you don't discipline that thought, you'll spend the whole day in a mental prison, rehearsing what happened. But when you discipline your mind, you say, I refuse to waste my energy on this. I choose peace. I choose to focus on solutions, not drama. Now, instead of being drained, you remain productive. The offense doesn't control you because your disciplined thoughts kept you aligned with overflow. Parents face this every day. A mother might look at her bills and immediately think, how am I going to make it? There's never enough. Life is so hard. That thought, if undisciplined, creates stress that spills over into her children. But if she disciplines her mind, she can replace it with, I may not see the way yet, but provision will come. I will not panic. I will strategize. I will act. I will believe. Her children watch her calm in the storm, and that atmosphere of discipline creates peace in the home. The bills didn't magically disappear, but her disciplined thoughts kept her aligned with overflow instead of struggle. Your thoughts are like traffic on a busy highway. If you don't direct them, they'll cause accidents, chaos, and gridlock. But when you step into the role of traffic controller, when you blow the whistle and say, this thought goes left, this one goes right, this one is not allowed on the road at all, suddenly everything flows in order. Discipline brings order to the chaos of your mind. Consider athletes again. When they are training, their bodies scream for rest, for comfort, for ease. But their mind has been disciplined to override the body. They tell themselves, one more lap, one more rep. Keep pushing. The body follows the mind. In the same way, when life screams at you with fear and lack, your disciplined mind must step in and say, no, I will keep moving. I will keep believing. I will keep expecting increase. Without discipline, your thoughts will quit long before your breakthrough arrives. Think about how many people sabotage opportunities because of undisciplined thoughts. They get a new job offer and immediately their mind says, you're not qualified. You'll probably fail. You don't deserve this. And they talk themselves out of overflow before it even arrives. But the person with a disciplined mind will say, I may feel nervous, but I am capable. I will learn, I will grow. I will rise to the occasion. And because they discipline their thoughts, they step into the opportunity and succeed. Discipline also means repetition. You can't think abundance once and expect overflow forever. Just like going to the gym, your mind must be trained daily. Every time a negative thought shows up, you confront it and replace it. Every time fear rises, you silence it and declare courage. Every time scarcity whispers, you shout back with overflow. Over time, your mental reflex changes. What used to take effort becomes natural. Just as a trained soldier reacts instantly on the battlefield, a trained mind reacts instantly with overflow. Your thoughts will either be the chains that keep you bound or the wings that lift you higher. The difference is discipline. If you let your mind drift, it will drift into doubt. If you guide it, it will soar into destiny. Daily life proves this. One person faces a challenge and collapses because their thoughts spiral out of control, while another faces the same challenge and rises because their thoughts are disciplined toward abundance. The circumstance didn't choose the outcome, the mind did. Overflow is not just money. It's a lifestyle. Overflow is not about the size of your bank account. It is about the quality of your life. Too many people reduce abundance to money alone, but true overflow touches every corner of your existence. You can have millions in the bank and still live in emptiness, still struggle in your relationships, still lack peace in your mind. That is not overflow, that is imbalance. Real overflow is when your spirit is settled, your mind is clear, your body is healthy, your relationships are rich, your purpose is alive, and yes, your resources are more than enough. It is a lifestyle, not a number. Think about people you've met who seem to have it all, materially, but couldn't sleep at night. They had cars, houses, positions, but no joy. That is proof that money alone is not overflow. On the other hand, you may know someone with far less who radiates peace, who walks into a room with confidence, who inspires others without saying much. That's overflow. because it spills out of them, not just out of their wallet. Daily life shows this difference clearly. Imagine a man who wakes up in a luxury home, but immediately grabs his phone and drowns in anxiety from emails and worries. His environment screams wealth, but his mind screams scarcity. Now picture another man who wakes up in a modest apartment, but he starts his day with gratitude, breathing deeply, declaring that today will bring good things. He leaves his home energized. He treats people with kindness, and he sees opportunities where others see problems. One has material success but no overflow. The other has cultivated an inner abundance that eventually attracts outer abundance. Overflow in your health means you are not dragging through life with exhaustion, but walking with vitality. It means you take care of your body, not because you're afraid of sickness, but because you respect the vessel that carries your destiny. Overflow in your emotions means you're not easily shaken by drama, not living in bitterness, not letting every offense steal your peace. You have so much inner stability that even when storms come, you remain calm. That calmness itself inspires others. Overflow in relationships means you are not begging for love or holding onto toxic connections out of fear of being alone. You know who you are, and you attract people who add value instead of subtract it. Your love tank is full enough to pour into others without feeling drained. That's why some families thrive while others barely survive. The difference is not money, it is whether love, honor, and respect are overflowing in that home. Overflow in your purpose means waking up with a sense of direction. It means your life is not just about paying bills and waiting for weekends, but about impact, about leaving fingerprints on this earth that outlive you. When you operate in purpose, even when you face setbacks, you don't feel wasted because you know your life is producing something bigger than yourself. Even in finances, overflow is not about greed or hoarding. It is about having more than enough so you can give, build, invest, and bless others. Struggle says, I can barely make it. Overflow says, I have enough for me, enough for my family, and enough to help someone else. Daily life proves this too. One person makes a decent income, but constantly feels like it's not enough because their mindset is scarcity. They live in debt, stress, and fear. Another person may earn the same, but they manage wisely, give generously, and continually see doors open. The difference is not the paycheck, it's the overflow mindset. Overflow also shows up in peace. Some people walk into a room and immediately change the atmosphere with calmness and confidence. They don't bring chaos, they bring stability. That's overflow. Others walk in and drain the energy because they are consumed with their own struggle. You've probably experienced this in your own life. Being around someone whose energy lifted you higher, or around someone whose negativity pulled you down. Overflow is contagious, and so is struggle. Which one you carry is determined by your lifestyle, not your circumstances. Imagine a woman running a business. If she's stuck in a struggle mindset, every day feels like survival. She chases clients, stresses over bills, and fears competition. But if she lives in overflow, she operates from a place of confidence. She knows opportunities are abundant. She treats clients with excellence, and she sees competition as collaboration. The same business can feel like prison or like purpose depending on whether you live in struggle or overflow. Overflow also changes how you respond to challenges. In struggle mode, problems feel like the end. In overflow, problems feel like puzzles, opportunities to learn, to stretch, to innovate. A struggling mindset says, why me? An overflow mindset says, what can I learn? How can I grow? What is this preparing me for? That shift alone turns setbacks into stepping stones. When you live in overflow, you stop comparing yourself to others. You're not intimidated by someone else's success because you know there's more than enough for everyone. Struggle says, if they win, I lose. Overflow says, if they win, it proves winning is possible for me too. That attitude attracts networks, partnerships, and friendships because people love being around someone who celebrates others instead of competing with them. This is the life you were designed for. Not a life of constant pressure, not a life of lack, not a life of stress, but a life where your cup runs over in every area. That doesn't mean you'll never face challenges. It means even in challenges, you carry more than enough inside to overcome, to thrive, and to keep moving forward. Overflow is not a season. It is a mindset and a lifestyle that transforms everything it touches. You were never created to live your whole life chasing bills, begging for opportunities, or settling for crumbs when a table was prepared for you. You were born to overflow, to live in more than enough, to be a distributor of abundance, not a struggler for survival. Life is not supposed to be a constant uphill battle where you barely breathe. Life is supposed to be a journey where you rise, where you multiply, where you shine so bright that others find their way through your light. The mind is the battlefield, and the victory is already inside of you. If you discipline your thoughts, if you protect your imagination, if you guard your gates, then nothing outside can stop what is inside. You are bigger than your circumstances. You are stronger than your excuses. You are greater than the struggle. Struggle may visit, but it does not belong to you. Overflow belongs to you. Never forget, history remembers the people who refused to settle. The world honors those who decided that survival was not enough, who trained their minds to see beyond their limits, who walked with the conviction that there is always more. And now it's your turn. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to dream bigger. You don't need validation to walk in overflow. Say to yourself every day, I will not shrink. I will not settle. I will not let my past write my future. I will train my mind to receive increase, to expect abundance, to overflow in every area of my life. Because I was never meant to struggle. I was designed to thrive. I was never meant to lack. I was created to overflow. And starting today, I choose overflow.